Hi, my name is David Rippy. I'm a certified hypnotherapist where I take clients into a deep hypnotic state where they can share details of a previous life. This is the chapter titled Hard Life and a Counsel Pleased in my book, The Immortal Soul. Enjoy.
Hard Life and a Counsel Pleased. The hypnotic induction in this case was left out, as it mirrored previous ones used to hypnotically regress clients. This client is a female in her early 30s. Join us on her journey as she recounts her death in a past life and meets her soul counsel on the other side. David, end of hypnotic induction. Now as we go drifting along, what hard lessons did you experience in this past life? Subject, there was a fire. David, there was a what? Subject, fire. Quietly, my house burned down. David, say that again. Subject, my house burned down. David, your house burned down. That's a hard lesson. And what other hard lessons did you have in that life? Subject, long pause, treachery. David, there was some treachery involved? Subject, yes. David, okay. Subject, very quietly, a lot of. David, say that again. Subject, a lot of death. A lot of killing. David, a lot of killing and death. That's certainly not good. Subject, I was helping. David, again? Subject, I was taking care of the wounded. David, you were taking care of the wounded? Subject, yes. David, were you at a battle? Subject, yes, we were fighting with our neighbors with the other people. David, so it was two families fighting against each other? Subject, mumble, not biological families. David, not biological families. Now does this have anything to do with the Civil War? Subject, not yet. David, so it was before the Civil War? Subject, yes. David, but you're having big battles with your neighbors. Is it over land, or what's it over? Subject, land. David, so land mostly? Subject, and livestock. David, and livestock. That was a hard life. Tell me more about that life. Were you a man or a woman? Subject, a woman. David, and your house burned down. Subject, mumbled, they set it on fire. The people we were fighting with. David, oh, the people you were fighting with set it on fire. Okay. Now were you married? Subject, yes. I had children. There were lots of children staying with me when the house burned down. David, did they get out in time? Subject, they came out in time. David, did you get out? Subject, yes. David, so you made it out of the house? Now, where did it feel like you were located? What territory do you think? Subject, Midwest. David, somewhere in the Midwest? Did you have any mountains around you or was it pretty flat? Subject, it was flat. There wasn't a lot of population around. David, and what other lessons did you take on in that life that were difficult? Subject, pause, I had to learn to endure. David, you had to what? Subject, endure. David, you had to endure. Subject, endure pain. Endure. I had to learn to put others first. David, wow, that's a hard lesson. Subject, and to put my pain, my suffering away, because other people were suffering worse. David, was that because of the killing and shooting? Subject, because of everything. I was in a better position than most. Most of the people that were with me were very poor, and I was not as poor as them. David, so it made it very difficult for them to eat and everything else, didn't it? Subject, yes. David, did you help them with meals when they didn't have anything? Subject, they lived on my land. David, did you have cows? Subject, I had everything. David, so you had a lot of livestock? Subject, yes. David, and how many acres do you think you had? Subject, as many as I wanted. David, now as you see yourself in that life, and you see everything getting older and older. Subject, I'm not that old when I die. David, oh, how old were you? Subject, I was young. I was in my late 40s. David, in your 40s. And what did you die from, do you remember? Subject, I was sick, and I just died. David, so you aren't sure what it was, but you got sick and died, is that right? Subject, yes. David, did you die in bed with a fever while very sick? Subject, I died trying to help others. David, so you died trying to help some of the. Subject, I was sick, and I was trying to help others. And I was just falling, like, trying to take care of all of the other people that were sick. We all were sick. It's. David, and you weren't sure what everybody was sick from, huh? Subject, no. David, was it from some bad flu sweeping through, maybe? Subject, yes. David, did a lot of people die from it? Subject, yes. David, and this was before the Civil War, is that correct? Subject, yes. David, do you think it may have been 1820s or 30s or 40s or what decade or year? Subject, I don't know. David, sometime before the Civil War though? Subject, yes. David, so people are getting sick. And you are in your 40s, you're sick too, and you're just hustling along dying basically. And then you just fell over and died, I guess, huh? Subject, yes. David, now when you fell over and saw your death, did you see yourself as a spirit staring at your dead body? Subject, yes. David, and how long did you stand there? Subject, a long time. David, a long time? Were you hoping that you got back up? Did you try to get the body back up? Subject, I tried to get the body back up. Everybody else was so sick. David, did you see other ghosts standing around that had just died too? Subject, yes, a lot of them ran. David, they what? Subject, they just went. They just disappeared fast. David, so you stayed, but a lot of them who you saw die had come out of their bodies and then just disappeared? Subject, yes. David, is that correct? Subject, yes. David, was that pretty much like, wow, what's going on here? Did you know you were dead? Subject, yes. David, so you knew you were dead, but you didn't want to leave, because you were still concerned about sick people, I guess. Subject, I fought to stay as long as I could. David, because. Why? Subject, because they needed me. David, because you knew the people there needed you, is that right? Subject, yes. David, that's really touching. So, you felt they needed you there. You tried to stay as long as possible. Subject, I need. Mumbles. David, say that again, please. Subject, I need to be needed. David, one more time? Subject, I need to be needed. I liked it. David, okay, you like what you're doing, right? Subject, yes. David, who eventually came for you. Subject, the children and I went. David, say that again. Subject, the children and I went. David, the children? Subject, yes. David, your children or other children? Subject, I waited for all the children that were staying at my house. We all went together. David, did they all die? Subject, we all died. David, did any die in the fire? Subject, no, we all were very sick, everyone that was with me in that room. There was not that many people that were my age, but there was young children, as young as 5 or 6, and I waited for them, because I knew they were all going to be coming with me. David, because they had gotten sick and died? Subject, because they were all sick too. And they had not passed before me, they passed shortly after. David, so a lot of people were passing away, is that correct? Subject, yes, both sides. Very few people lived. David, so people were passing away. You were in the Midwest. Subject, yes. David, did it feel like a bad flu? A virus? Subject, a fever. David, it was a high fever. Subject, yes. And hallucinations. David, and how did your body feel? Subject, I had a rash. I was freezing cold and then burning hot. I couldn't stop sweating. And weak. David, that must have been terrible. Subject, and I was trying to take care of everybody. I kept falling. David, that was a hard life, wasn't it? Subject, yes. David, when you passed away, who came for you eventually to take you somewhere? Subject, the children and I all just went together. David, oh, that's right, you said that. So you waited for the children. Did you all go back somewhere together? Subject, yes, we all went to the other side together. David, so you all went to the other side together, okay. And when you arrived on the other side, what did you see? Subject, my family. David, you saw your family. Subject, my group. David, say that again. Subject, my group was waiting for me. David, and your group was there. Subject, all of them. David, everyone in your group? Well, that's a nice welcoming, isn't it? Subject, yes. David, were you pretty happy that they all came? Subject, yes. David, it was pretty nice, wasn't it? Subject, yes. David, so you saw your group. Now did you have any spirit guides coming up to you? Subject, yes. David, and what are they saying? Subject, pause, I feel like I'm getting approval. David, good, so you. Subject, it's not time. It's not time for us to talk. But I feel like I'm getting approval. David, approval for that life? Subject, like I did a good job. David, yes. I would say you did. I'm impressed. And that was one of the harder lives you needed to do, right? Subject, yes. David, and you did well in this one, didn't you? Subject, yes. David, so they were pretty happy and saying, wow, this soul took those challenges and worked them. Is that right? Subject, yes. David, so you felt pretty good about yourself too, didn't you? Subject, yes. David, because it was hard, very hard, right? Subject, yes. David, do you think looking back at your other lives, that this life with the sickness and the killings, the pain and the hard work and everything? Subject, that was the hardest one I had. David, that was the hardest life you've ever had? Is that correct? Subject, up to that point, yes. I had harder lives after. David, so you had harder lives after that life. Okay. Subject, but that life, that was only a few lives ago. And that was a hard life. David, that 1850 or whatever life? Subject, yes. David, and that life you're telling me was only a few lives ago? Subject, I've only had a couple of different Earth experiences since. David, so between that life, where you died in your 40s of illness, to this life you're in now, how many lives were in between those? Subject, 4. David, so you had 4 other lives including this one, since that life, is that correct? Subject, yes. David, now out of those 4, looking at those, which one was the hardest, do you think? Subject, long pause. David, any of them stand out? Subject, this life is very difficult for me. David, this life has been a hard life for you? Subject, and 2 lives ago. David, so this life's hard and 2 lives ago. And what was that life? Subject, but I don't talk about it. I didn't do a very good job. David, okay, but it was a harder life, you think? Subject, yes. David, but you don't like to talk about it? Subject, no. I don't want to remember it. David, but you grew from those experiences though, didn't you? You learned something, right? Subject, yes. David, well, that's what it's all about. Some lives will not be fun. It's like, this difficult life left an imprint on me. But we know it's just. Subject, there's a lot of red when I talk about it. David, there's a lot of what? Subject, red. David, a lot of red? Subject, yes. David, do you feel scared to talk about it? Subject, I feel not happy to talk about it. David, you feel what? Subject, not happy. David, not happy, okay. Do you feel it's something you someday might just want to release so you don't feel that way about it anymore? In other words, you realize that it's just a life? Subject, yes. David, and it shouldn't affect us that much, right? Subject, yes. David, so this life you feel is hard though, right? Let me ask you this, going back to that life where you keeled over in your 40s, and then you stayed there and eventually the children came, and you went with them to the other side, was that what you called heaven, right? Subject, yes. David, now your spirit guide came up to you and you were happy, and you received approval for the success you achieved in that life. Subject, yes. David, they were proud of you in that life. So we go from there. Is he taking you to your council meeting, or when do you go to that? Subject, not yet. David, I want you to go to that time as you're enjoying yourself. And as you're relaxing, we're counting down to relax you more. We're going to now approach in that life the council. Let's see what they say about you taking harder challenges. So as you're standing there, all of a sudden we're at your council meeting. David, and how many council members are there? Subject, I don't know. There are a lot of people. David, so they're all here to listen in on this council meeting? Subject, I don't know. David, are your spirit guides with you? Subject, they're here, but they're not with me. David, they're not with you. So, you're sitting there and all of a sudden you look up, and how many wise ones are there? Subject, mumbled, there's 5 wise ones. David, say that again. Subject, there are 5 wise ones. David, so you have 5 wise ones and you have an angel? Subject, no angel. David, any blue souls? Subject, all purple. David, they're all purple? Subject, yes. David, all 5? Subject, yes. David, so that's going to be the council for this life, is that right? Subject, yes. David, now are any of these purple ones? Have you ever seen them on other councils for you? Subject, there are 2 that are on all my councils. 2 of them are always with me. David, and 3 new ones? Subject, yes. David, well, overall, how do they think you did in this life? Subject, I did good. David, were they proud of you? Subject, yes. David, were they impressed that you took on what in their eyes? Were extra challenges? A harder life? Subject, yes. David, so they were pleased to see you do well with that life and try to help others, right? Subject, yes. David, are there any lessons they think you needed to pass that you didn't pass in that life? How did you make out on the lessons you signed up for? Subject, I didn't. Some of the lessons I didn't master. I did a very good job, but I didn't master. David, okay. Subject, and they want me to master them. David, I understand. And give us an idea what some of those lessons might have been. Subject, long pause, self-compassion. David, self-compassion, okay. Subject, always self-compassion. David, and what else? Subject, long pause. David, anything else? Subject, I have. Pause, I'm very good at keeping it together. David, so in that life or this life, they thought you did a good job of keeping things together? Subject, that life. David, it sounds like you did. So they were pretty proud overall, is that right? Subject, yes. David, so they liked that you did very well on some of the lessons, but a few you didn't quite master, and they want you to do a little extra down the line on those you didn't pass in new lives, is that right? Subject, yes. David, and did they say anything about you still needing to take harder and harder challenges? Subject, yes. David, so they want to keep pushing you because they think you could do even harder lives, is that right? Subject, but I don't want to. David, chuckle, because lives are hard, is that right? Subject, I didn't do so good in one life, and I don't want to repeat my mistakes and not do so good again. David, you didn't do so well in that red life or whatever? Subject, yes. I see red when I think about it. David, well, someday you might want to bring in your spirit guides and counsel and ask something like this: with gratitude, I would like the counsel and my spirit guides to review that life I had difficulty in with me again. It's still bothering me, and I want to do better next time when facing similar challenges. And they'll do that for you. And next time around you'll put those lessons you didn't do so well on behind you in another life. And you will move forward. I can understand if that life where you didn't do so well is in your recent past, and you remember it as you do now, it can affect you negatively. Subject, yes. I felt like I took on too much in that life. David, do you think they loaded up your plate a little too high? Subject, I think I loaded up my plate too high. David, and on the other side it is easier to say, yeah, add that to the list, why not? It's easier to do that on the other side, and when you get down here to Earth School and have cosmic amnesia, not knowing why you're here, it's a whole different world. Subject, yes. David, in other words, up there it's like. Subject, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. David, something like, okay, sure, add that. It's not going to be easy, it's another hard course, but I'll get through it. And then you come down and it's a wake-up call, isn't it? Subject, yes. David, so it's tough. Well, it sounds like you did well in that life, so they were happy. So overall the council was 5 members. Does the council see finding her path through deeper meditations? Finding more peace and less anxiety? Do they see that for her? Subject, she takes on other people's emotions. David, so she needs to stop that to a good degree, is that right? Subject, she needs to use the layers of protection she's taught. David, do they think that maybe I'm helping her with that on a simple level? Subject, one council member said, you know you are. David, what's that? Subject, he said, you know you are. David, well, that's good, thank you, because I didn't know if there are other things we should add beyond golden divine light and all. I think the reincarnation things and meeting your counsel is important to find yourself and realizing your divine nature. Well, I want to thank the council. Thank you for the time and allowing her to go deep and learn more about herself and her past. And a lot of gratitude for sharing that time with us, and I appreciate it. Subject, deep, sleepy breathing. David, and as we talk, we're going to gently raise up. To 5 we're going to count all the way up, from 0 to 5. On each higher number you're finding yourself more and more awake, feeling more and more awake. Feeling a sense of power inside and feeling all the pain gone in the stomach. Seeing that golden light in your mind and in your stomach. And feeling yourself waking up more and more as we count up from 1 to 2. Waking up more and more, more and more. And as we count up to 3 on to 4, you feel yourself becoming more awake, feeling so good inside. So relaxed. And as we count up to 5, you're starting to blink your eyes and stretch. You're enjoying the feeling, but you feel like you want to wake up. You feel like you just had a great nap, and you just caught a great sleep. You're feeling yourself waking up. Do you feel yourself waking up? Subject, yes. David, how do you feel? Subject, I could hear you. David, what? Subject, I felt like I was asleep, but I could hear you, and I couldn't wake up. David, like you could hear me from a distance or something? Subject, yes. David, like in a tunnel? Subject, yes. David, so you feel pretty good overall? Subject, I am. David, and how is your pain? Subject, it's not bothering me. I have no pain. That's really weird.